All right, let's head out to the international Zoom cloud that we've got known as our studio in the sky, right next to the swamp. Literal swamp, not the one in Washington, D.C. We've got Canada's greatest export here on the horn or the line or the Zoom cloud, whatever. Terry, what are the kids calling the horn these days? We used to say we got them on the horn. And I suppose that came when a phone looked like a horn at some point. But Terry Edom from Calgary, Alberta, Canada. How you doing today,
Well,
sir?
sir. Good, thank you. How are you?
You're Calgary, aren't you?
I am, yes.
Yeah.
For having me. Yep.
What is the
Just
modern
across the
day horn?
border, such as it is now. So, the horn, I don't know what they would call it. They would just roll their eyes and when I asked the question, I think. So, I think there's nothing else that is life for them.
I think you're probably right. It's a boy. That's an interesting experience growing up with that. It's
Yeah, yeah, they're
I try to think of a comparison, and the only thing I can think of is like it's probably when you went from horse and buggy to car. Like, yeah, television and I get all that different stuff, but man, growing up with a computer in your hand, that's the only thing like I said, is a horse and buggy to the car. It's like that much of
yeah,
a wow. Okay, this is
yeah.
the world's different now. Alrighty, man.
You hear these
Uh,
anecdotes. A friend of mine that his family travels a lot. They do okay, and he had a little daughter, and uh, they went on a road trip once between a couple of cities here, and they left a Wi-Fi zone, or they got into a dead spot, which happens in Canada here. There's no cell coverage. The kid's device stopped working. She's like 6 or something, and she goes, "Dad, did we just leave international airspace?"
oh man, that's funny. Well, I just got back from 1 week on the road, and my screen cracked, and it was over Christmas and New Year's, and so everything was closed, and I couldn't, necessarily move money because the banks weren't there, and
Oh, yeah.
oh yeah, it was. I had to sleep in my car 2 days and in sub-zero, or not sub-zero, but minus
Wow,
30 degree
cool.
temperature. Yeah, I mean, well, what do you do? I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
and so it was one of those things where you can't call anybody.
Yeah, yeah.
Everything you try to do, it sends you a text for a notification. Then all of a sudden, Gmail got involved, and now I get these third-party notifications from Gmail, but I have to access it through my phone. I couldn't do it on my computer. So here I am, I'm at a Wi-Fi with my computer and everything else like that, and I still couldn't log into Verizon because Verizon sends you a text to your phone. Well, the screen's cracked. And I found out real hard what it's like to be in an American emergency. How do you guys do it up in Canada? Does a Mountie show up or?
No, you're on your own. I haven't had that happen, but a couple of summers ago, I was traveling in Canada and the banking system went down. There was some big, I think it was an internet outage for one of the big telco providers, and there was you couldn't use credit anywhere. So the only way you could do anything was with cash, and it was chaos. Like people were like, "I don't have cash." It's like, well, you're not getting gas then, literally. To I can't remember where
Man.
we were, but we had to pay. We had some cash and we could fill up our vehicle, but other than that, you're stuck. It was crazy. It's and never
Well,
mind being without the internet. Yeah.
it is crazy what's going on. We have some activities. We should probably get into a little bit of the interview here. Otherwise, we'll just sit and
When are
chit
you
chat all day.
when are you coming to invade Canada?
Well,
I
that's
got
what I was going to
ready.
ask you about.
I
How
got an
are you
American
in
flag for my
Canada?
porch, and I'm ready for you.
How are you interpreting the recent geopolitical shifting of the powers and oil fields, and there's a lot of different narratives that are going around. This is one of my favorite parts about being a editor and a publisher back in the day, is seeing the different point of views. So, Al Jazeera, in the second sentence, it says that they were abducted, the president was abducted, and everything American is like, hey, man, unleash American energy. We're coming at you. We're going to full bore take over the reserves. And it's all, lollipops and strawberry soda, man, or Macintosh caramels. up in Canada. And so, what's Canada's interpretation of this whole thing?
Well, within my line of sight or line of contact, I had everything from Al Jazeera types to the full-on "we want to join the U.S." types. So, and so, but Calgary and Alberta is probably a bit more, definitely more U.S. aligned than a lot of Canada, where a lot of the people are in Southern Ontario and whatnot. So, I would say, I mean, there's a span of reactions. People are like, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, we're in trouble because Canada's been a bad boy in a lot of ways. Like, I mean, our foreign policy has been a shambles. Our crime is running rampant, and the drug thing is out of control, and porous borders and whatnot, and infiltration by foreign governments meddling in our elections and whatnot. So there's a lot of Canadians that are defensive about that. And then when we see what happened down there, I don't think anybody's expecting Trump to come pick off our leader, but but at the same time, there's trade negotiations coming up in summer, and we know that there's a lot of trade irritants, subsidies up here and whatnot, and yeah, there's some unease. I like it personally. I think this is, I don't see any problem with what happened there. The whole oil narrative was, the web just exploded. I was following it on X on Saturday. Everyone had an opinion. There are just like a million new Venezuelan oil experts. You have guys from Florida that own car dealerships to San Francisco techies to everybody, Toronto history professors, all were speaking about what this meant for Venezuelan oil. And I don't think anybody knows. It's just a big mess, and it'll be brought back on, um, when as capital and time permits, but it's going to take a long time. So, and it's going to be a very gradual thing. So there's a bunch of wild predictions both ways, I think. So, but time will tell. Um, I subscribe to the theory that Trump is battling the Russia-China axis, which is trying to control large parts of the world through the BRICS organization and others. And I think Trump is looking to build Fortress North America, or Fortress America now, I guess, and say, hey, we shouldn't be so reliant on China to build weapons, which is true. And we have what we need here in North America. Trump likes to say that the US has everything, but I don't think I think the US still needs to import certain things, certain raw materials and metals and whatever else. And I think everybody knows that. It's just a bombastic statement to get everybody's attention. But regardless, I think North America, or even North and South America, makes a pretty awesome unit of to worry about. I think the U.S. is pulling back from being the global policeman after 100 years of it, and I think a lot of that was due to the quest for oil. But now that the U.S. has a lot of oil, and the kind of oil that it needs that they don't produce, Canada has, and so I think it's a good integrated unit. So I'm not scared about it all. I think it's kind of interesting. I think Trump's doing a lot of good things. I think he's doing some over the top things, but a lot of what he's doing had to be done. Somebody had to, and it had to be forceful. You can't just pussyfoot through some of these things. Some things had to be, you had to grab the bull by the horn in some instances, and it's going to be a scene. But does that explain everything he does? No, but and I just think we were heading down a very bad path, and we still are kind of in Canada. The statist mentality, the globalist WEF leadership that we have, that we need global control, global solutions to solve things. Yeah, I'm not a fan of that kind of thing. So
Well, when I see kind of what's going on, and we've been putting quite a few stories on the crude life, and they've been being picked up in some formats and repurposed in others, and I've kind of come to a theory that I have never articulated publicly. So I'm curious on your thoughts on this from your
all right,
international
let's hear it.
viewpoint. Yeah, because it's pretty aggressive, because normally in my role, I try to be more vanilla than I am rocky road. There's so many hot takes out there that if you try to have a little bit of a outside the box thought, it gets lumped in with the hot takes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so people just dismiss it. And because, I still do radio, a weekend radio show, a the old school news magazine, CBS 60 Minutes, but we're of energy on the radio. It's really boring for the average person, but people who are decision makers and, are in the industry that, we've had,
I appreciate it. Yeah.
yeah, they do. And it's a good weekend radio show. My point is that I'm still beholden to the FCC. I mean, I'm a 40-year veteran when really I started at the age of 10. So when I look at how long I've been working in the media, I just have this inherent respect for the kids that are listening, so I don't swear and try not to do the editorializing unless it's clearly labeled and et cetera, et cetera. So um longer story long, here, Terry, I honestly think this is an aggressive takeover. I really do. I think this is hey.
Venezuela.
Well, I think it's global. I think it's global
Oh,
that listen, we've been talking about globalization since the 90s. And it's going to happen whether we like it or not. And Trump, he's just kind of saying, hey, on my watch, this is what we're going to do. We're going to go get the biggest oil reserves on the planet. Sorry, Saudi Arabia, but all the Bushes, you never have to go back there and beg again. We now control the world's largest supply. We're not beholden to OPEC. We're not beholden. I mean,
yeah,
literally, that's how I look at it. And
yeah,
then
yeah.
I still think he's going to get Greenland. I think he's going to get Greenland because of the geothermal and the natural gas. And the next chapter of the world is artificial intelligence. And there's no way. It's just, Terry, this is just like when the internet took out newspapers. The newspaper industry didn't go away. They had to shift and get repurposed, and their market share changed. They went from like an 80% market share in every town they were in. They had a monopoly, okay,
Hmm.
to down to probably a 20 to 40%, because at the end of the day, the newspaper was still creating the original content. So as long as they were creating the original news stories, Associated Press and the courtroom reporters that are showing up, to the council meetings every Monday night, and that these are original content producers. Now, it's totally changed in the last 10 years, but that's when the internet kind of took over, is that the newspaper, they got taken out of the print, but they had to repurpose themselves as content generators. That's what I see happening in the world of energy right now, is that the oil and gas industry, it's shifting its market share from, 70%, 75%. I mean, you take coal out and it's at 90% probably. So it just depends on what day of the week you're looking at it. Anyway, like I said, longer story longer. What is your thoughts on, kind of my takeaway of, hey man, this is a oil reserves play, and this is Trump is going to become Mount Rushmore, in his mind. History books will write it, baby. Okay, you go ahead. Sorry, I'm going to get down now.
Sure. Well, I think that you do have to control your own destiny, especially as a superpower, and that all starts with energy. I think you're absolutely right. And out of all of the, nobody knows what's going to happen with AI. It could go any which way. The only thing that's real about AI, other than the pace of development, is the fact that it needs a lot of energy. And so you have to control energy. You just do. And I think those are very big tectonic things that are being put in place. Like you say, it's not as simplistic as them getting rid of a leader that's an annoyance. That's kind of it. I think it was chasing Russia and China out of Venezuela, or will be. I hadn't realized, out of all of this furor that happened here, I hadn't realized how much activity like China and Iran had in Venezuela. Or Russia was quite upset about this too. So there was some truth to that, that this was like a toehold for that axis of countries into the Western Hemisphere. So I think you're right. I think it's a broad strokes. Uh, it's a long-term play to consolidate resources And then the secondary part of it will be to be able to process things and bring them in-house and develop them, not rely on the other axis. If this is the Western Hemisphere, then not rely on the Eastern Hemisphere. There's a fascinating story about that I missed. It actually happened last December. The United States government, under the Department of Defense, I think, invested $15 million into a burgeoning tungsten mine in Northwest Territories here in Canada or in Yukon, I can't remember which is kind of crazy. Like the US said, here's $15 million to develop a tungsten mine. They gave it directly to a company, like here's a check, which is bizarre. But it speaks to how the vision that's happening here, that's saying we need to control these things, that China controls tungsten. I think the supplies, but also the processing. And so, and lithium, and the US government bought a stake in a lithium company and another mining company in the US, 10% interest, or I think they're Canadian companies, um, developing assets in the US. But uh, copper, all of these things, I think you're going to see these moves get put in place to like, we're going to control copper, we're going to control precious metals and minerals, we're going to control oil, natural gas. We're going to build our little fortress, and not have to. I mean, we just came through a period here, both the U.S. and Canada, which were deindustrialized. We're hollowed out because China is now the factory of the world, right? China makes everything. And it's absurd if you think about defending your own country and you have to get parts from China when China's the enemy you're worried about. Like that makes no sense whatsoever. And Trump reading the Riot Act to defense companies there, I think yesterday it was, saying you're paying fat dividends, you're terrible at what you do, you're paying yourselves too much money, everything's over budget, you guys have no cost control and take advantage of the government, and um, I think that's all part of it. He's like, we have to control our own destiny, and that's what we're going to do. So I think, yeah, it shows up in many forms, and some of them are not direct. But I think that's part of what the Venezuela thing was. Now, like Canada has 160 billion barrels of reserves in our oil sands. Venezuela has something like 300. So those are like two of the biggest deposits on Earth, if not the two biggest deposits on Earth. And one's pipeline connected to the US and the other one's across the Gulf. So that's not a bad place to be.
And last year, or the year before, they were talking about basically, North America becoming one energy superpower. They had,
Hmm.
I believe they got the natural gas side done, if my memory serves me right, because they cut a deal with the president of Mexico, and that aligned the three countries together for like the first time, and whatever it was, either
Yeah.
LPN or some kind of that's your business, right? So I mean, you know what I'm
Yep.
talking about, yeah. Um, I've often wondered that with the whole deal because of all the ethanol down in Brazil, in terms of I believe they desperately just want to make America's one energy superpower. And when I take a look at what Canada, you mentioned Trump will take out Canada. He doesn't have to, man. You
No, he
kidding
doesn't
me?
have to.
I grew up in Minnesota and North Dakota. I know what passive aggressive war is, man. So the Trump, you guys will be so passive aggressively taken out that you won't even know what day it is. And pretty
It's
soon,
right.
you'll be working for America, and you won't even know what day it is. Like I
Yeah,
said,
look at my paycheck, go, huh? Who's that coming from now?
yeah, who's FICA? Who's
US
this
Bank.
all about? But I see the Northwest Territory and the Yukon. Now, I don't know if they're going to get direct money from the governments for a 45Q type of a deal to get that tundra carbon sequestered, but there's got to be minerals under there, and there's got to be all kinds of exploratory value in those two provinces. They're provinces, right? Territories or provinces? What are they
I
up
don't.
there?
That's a good question. I'm not even sure myself. I think
Well, well,
I think they're territories. Yeah.
I think it's in the name, the Northwest
Yeah.
Territory.
Yeah. And I don't
Yes.
think they became official provinces, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure how your politics work up there, but my
I don't
point
know.
is that I think six people live in each one, so they're pretty underexplored. Well, North Dakota, Wyoming's the same way. They're
Yeah,
finding new mineral. They found like a nickel mine under some oil the other day. So I mean, they're finding
yeah.
stuff all the time. So I don't know, something like that. So what's going on in some of those western less populated areas? Because first of all, energy companies and governments love it because there's nobody around to complain, and secondly, there's nobody around to care when the heavy equipment comes in if they got to rip a tree out that somebody might get mad about. So what's it like up there? I mean, it's
Well, so there's the physical reality of that, which is wonderful. The little company I work for works up. We have our property is up north, and there's no people around. It's all forest. But having said that, there's all of these roadblocks that have been built by governments and regulations and overlapping regulations. So you have three levels of government. You have municipal regulations, the county level, then you have provincial, then you have federal, and they can be all different. Some of them compete, and some of them this will be a designated area for provincial purposes where there's special rules that'll be overlaid by a federal one, which has its own. Then the feds control all water bodies, the federal fisheries and wildlife or oceans and fisheries, I think. They anywhere in Canada the water flows naturally or lays naturally is federal jurisdiction. So, like in the middle of Alberta here, if I want to do something that impacts a little stream that might only have water in spring runoff, that's still federal jurisdiction. So now I have to jump through every hoop and they put a lot of hoops in place. So when you're talking about mineral development, like especially in these remote areas, you might look at it on a map and go, "This is great. There's nobody there." But then as soon as you hit the regulatory rule book, you go, "Oh my God!" and you throw up your hands. And I think that's what's happened to a lot of development in Canada. It just takes so many years to cut through the red tape and the like. If you hit a beaver dam, it can set you back for a year because there's a species you have to deal with, and it's a water body which the beavers might have created 2 weeks ago, but it's a water body, and you can't avoid that. If we wanted to, you mentioned taking down a tree. If we want to take down a tree in any of our operations, which covers 1,200 square miles, we want to take down one tree. We have to get First Nations consultation, which is like an eight month process by the time we submit.
First Nations consultation.
Yep, anywhere.
Just that phrase intimidates me not to even try.
And it
Like,
should. Oh, exactly. It'll scare people away.
are you
Like we
kidding
got,
me? I'm not going to get anything approved by the First Nations consultation.
oh, but you have to, or you won't get anything done. Like it's a wall. You do it, or you do nothing.
Well, we have the similar things in the United States. There's something called WOTUS, Waters of the United States.
Hmm.
And in some jurisdictions, they've interpreted a rain puddle as federal jurisdiction. And
Yeah,
and and I I guess I've never confirmed the source to find out if that's true or if that's just some Republican exaggeration because they're
well,
the
you
ones
can probably
who
look it up. I know a guy that was on a pipeline construction project. It was like $100 million pipeline, and in spring the snow melts. There's runoff, so it's not a natural waterway. It's not a river or anything like that. But some of the spring runoff was going across the right of way for the pipeline under construction, and there were some tadpoles showed up in that spring runoff. The construction project ground to a halt
you say
until biologists
tadpoles,
could
tadpoles.
determine
Okay,
if they were an endangered species or not.
sure, yeah. Well, they
And,
could be the cane frog from Australia, and we're sending
and
it
it's
up
not even
there
that
to
we're worried about. So, and
do some
I can show you
damage.
maps like of our project area where we work. There's water bodies, some of them that are like designated trumpeter swan habitat. There's a big radius around the water. Might be a little slough in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, yeah, I
No
get that.
activity can happen in that circle for a certain period of time. There's caribou migratory paths. There's elk. There's all sorts of wildlife that you have to work around. And that's in the forested areas. In the plains areas, there's burrowing owls that you have to worry about, and ruffled grouse or sage grouse. I can't remember which. During the, I think it's
Sage
the
grouse.
sage grouse. During the
Hmm.
sage grouse mating season, you can't
Prairie
do
chicken
anything.
down south. Yeah, it's called. Yeah.
Prairie chicken. Yeah,
Hmm.
you can't do anything within 3 kilometers of their dancing zone wherever they put on their little
I,
ritual.
I honestly have said this before that I think the sage grouse should be the national bird because it is more protected than the eagle. And
Covered
I'm
in,
being
yep.
totally serious because in 2016 or 15, Obama signed the President Obama signed an executive order that gave wind companies the authorization or the you know
Approval.
approval to kill eagles, bald eagles and golden eagles because they were killing so many that they were being held up in court. And so it's basically a way to keep the wind companies out of court. And
Yeah.
I've got some real issues with that, along with the
Yeah,
bats.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of bats too, and
Yeah, yeah.
so the
And
bats are
that's
actually attracted to the humming, and
oh,
that's a real issue. Yeah, I mean that's a real issue. It's not so much just hey, a stupid bird flew in the way, which I say stupid bird facetiously, but
but something there's a lot
something that's
of. Yeah.
attracting you. Yeah, and they thought that with whales, but the more research I'm reading on the offshore wind with the whales, they're not disrupting the whales as much as they thought before. Which personally, I just wish they'd rip that stuff out of there and just leave the ocean be.
Hmm.
let, you know,
Last
let
frontier.
just let the thing just regenerate a little bit. We've overfished the thing so much. We've done so much sludge in there
Yeah, yeah.
that it wouldn't. Just give the ocean a year off, would you?
Give it a
Okay.
chance. Yeah, yeah. Now
So
I know that
go ahead.
these are not they're not all bad things, right? Like preserving some habitats.
No.
I'm for habitat preservation. It's a good thing, but it's just another roadblock in addition to the human ones, like the federal department, well, like especially in Canada, we were on the climate bandwagon, so you had to justify anything on climate grounds, any new investment, and how did that fit into carbon reduction and did it hurt or help our cause or whatnot? So these just layer one on top of the other, right? And it's not like there's one place you go to get approval for everything. It's like no, you get approval here, and then you can go here, and then you can go here, and then you can go here, and each one takes months, and then some you have to appeal or whatever. So, but the cumulative effect is, and even like our federal government recognizes it now that the regulatory burden is just out of control. Like you just can't build anything here. So, and I know you have some of that in the U.S. too. It's like I think there's a mine. I can't remember what it's for, but somewhere in Nevada, and there's a little flower on that, like a 10-acre parcel, and it's the only place in the world I think that it grows, and there's no development around because it's an endangered flower or whatever. So it happens. And then that's part of the cost of modern living, and it's happening in other countries now too, right? You can't just go into Bolivia and build a mine wherever you want. Like they care too about their habitat and or Peru or Chile, and it's like it's not third world anymore. It's like no, they care about their flora and fauna too, and their native species and native plants and pets and stuff. So I'm a fan of natural habitats. I don't think that's a bad thing, but it just means everything gets harder. And it comes back to what we were talking about earlier. It's like there are things that are real in the world, and among them are demand for food, energy, metals, and minerals. Like they are not going away, and there's no way to replicate them. You're not going to AI your way into might help you find more copper or more natural gas or oil, but somebody still has to drill it and pull it out of the ground. So it's and burn it and use it and manufacture something with it. So a robot might take over manufacturing, but it still has to get there. So
So what's happening with the AI and nuclear and natural gas? Those seem to be the the three that are going together.
mhm.
Some are trying to put some geothermal in there, which you could probably do up in Canada. What's happening on the AI front? Which industries are they talking about that are going to benefit from powering it?
Yeah, that well, first of all, AI is just powering ahead, like you said. It's just going full foot to the floor. Tens of billions of dollars are going into it, and I just had a good lunch meeting with some key players in the provincial industry here about and that are working to get them built, and there's all sorts of roadblocks again, like with everything else. But the data center developers are just looking everywhere, saying, "Where do I plug in? Like, how do I?" I heard that 8 months ago, they would when they would find a location, data center developers, they would go, "Okay, now the next question is how much is it going to cost to get power there?" Now that conversation has changed. Now they're like, we don't care what it's going to cost. Can we get power? Can we find a site and can it have power? We don't care too much about what it's going to cost. So that's how that tone has changed. So now the push is on to build things, but it's really hard to, as you can see in the US all over the place and in Canada, it's hard to integrate a whole bunch of new data centers into the grid because they have like their demand is massive. Like it's like they can add, if all of the ones that are in the queue get built, you could add like 20-30% probably to total US electrical demand, which is like unbelievable amount when for a stable industry. I'm more familiar with the Canadian statistics, but Alberta as a province is like 5 million people, has a lot of industry, produces 3 million barrels a day or whatever, and a lot of gas. So a pretty active province. And the total power consumption for the entire province is 10 gigawatts, and at peak 10 to 12. In the queue, there are 16 gigawatts of data centers that have applied to locate in the province. So 1.5 times the entire power demand of the province. And the grid just can't handle it all. So there's no way that a lot of them aren't even real, but there's a good chunk of them are. But to try and integrate that into a grid, like how do you do that? And then even if they say like we have all the money in the world and we're going to build our data center here, like who can get me gas here? It's like, well, if somebody wants to, well, somebody has to build a power plant there. So how long does that take? And then what's that power plant going to run on? And you mentioned nuclear and natural gas and geothermal and everything else. That's a whole continuum. What's available now? Because they want it now. When that's natural gas. Nuclear is great in 5 or 10 or 15 years. Even small modular reactors. I just saw a picture on the web the other day of the first, I think it's in the US. No, sorry, it was in Europe, I think. That's building the first small modular reactor. It's gigantic. It's this enormous pit that was, I don't know, 100 meters across or something. And it's like cement going down. I don't know, the picture I could see was like at least 6 or 8 stories. It's like a huge thing. And this is a small modular reactor. So those aren't going to happen overnight either, even those little ones. Like I know people have their vision of there's going to be one in the back of a truck. That's not happening in for a very long time. So nuclear is down the road. Things like geothermal are very site specific. It's one of those things that conceptually makes so much sense. Like, oh, it's hot underground. Let's drill pipe underground and scavenge the heat, and there Bob's your uncle. And it's no, it doesn't work that way. It's just there's all sorts of complexities. There's a lot of areas where the water isn't warm enough unless you drill down a long ways. Um, a guy I know worked for a company that pioneered a way to drill horizontal wells from two different sites. Pretty cool technology. Two different sites. They go down and across, and they actually meet up, and they do multiple leg horizontals. So there's like 10 of them. So you have these 10, and they form a circuit, and they just pump water through there. The company's called Ever, and it's a cool idea. But over time, that rock cools off because you're pumping cool water through it all the time. So it loses its ability to, it loses the heat in the reservoir. You sunk a lot of money into drilling those wells and the infrastructure. So in essence, it just kind of depletes like a regular well. And so you need quite a high power price before that makes any sense at all. Now, data centers, like I said, aren't as concerned about the price of power, but they are concerned about with power being there all the time. They want five nines reliability, they call it 99.999% reliability. And they want that over the long haul. They don't want to hear about something that's intermittent like renewables. Like forget it. We want dead solid power. And they won't even hook up to one power plant largely because what happens when the power plant goes down for maintenance? They're like, forget it. We want redundancy. So now you have to have a grid connection. Well, you want a grid connection. Now you have to get in the queue with the system operator, and that can be years in the making too. So there's a lot of challenges. All these things sound simple in concept, but when you actually try and do it, there's all of the plumbers come up with the realities, like saying, "Dave, you thought about that?" And it's like, nope, that can be a deal killer, or it can be. They just add a lot of time and complexity or something. But some of them are deal killers.
What's happening with the oil sands?
Pretty,
Is there much flaring with the oil sands?
not a lot. I don't think so.
Not like in
Uh,
the Bakken or down in the Permian, right?
no,
Because
no, that's
it's a
right. The oil sands are
totally different
totally different.
technology, correct?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Actually, I don't think there's any in the oil sands. So the oil sands is kind of there's two ways to get the oil sands out of the ground. One, if it's close to surface, the oil sands is a huge deposit. It's 144,000 square kilometers, which is I don't know what that is in square miles. It's probably like I don't know 80 or 90,000 square
I
miles or
was
something.
told there'd be no math on this interview, so keep going.
You don't have to challenge my assumption. Probably
I was told there'd be no math here today. Okay, all right.
anyways, they're gigantic. But and so where the oil sands are close to the surface, they just mine it. They just dig it up and then they go process it somewhere. But where it's deeper, they do what they call SAGD, steam assisted gravity drainage, and they drill.
Steam assisted. Okay.
Yep. So they drill
Okay.
a horizontal well, and then they with another pan. Then they drill another one right underneath it, and then they pump steam down. They call it steam cycling. The steam heats up the oil, and because it's thick, viscous stuff, then it flows, or low viscosity, then it flows, and then they pump out the oil. So they have to keep pumping steam in, and then then the oil can flow out. So
Well,
and
why are you guys going with the word oil sands and tar sands when you got a coffee percolator? That's all you're doing is you're percolating coffee. It comes out looking like coffee.
that's so much more palatable of a descriptor.
Man, you
Great.
Canadians and your marketing, I don't get it. It took Americans to figure out oil sands because tar sands was your
Sounds
guys's,
terrible.
that was your term for my
I
knowledge.
know.
Well, then again, now keep in mind, one of my very first experiences at a true like high level executive retreat type of a coverage was at Jackson Hole, Wyoming, where they fly in all these, rare albino elk sighting of executives types. And oh, it was some big shot Federal Reserve guy and bank president type
That's a big
thing.
deal. Jackson Hole, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and he gets up there and first thing he says is he goes, we could have gave $1 billion to the best marketing firm on Madison Avenue and said, "Would you come up with a word that would just hinder our industry more than anything?" And they'd come up with the word frack, and we did it to ourselves. And I went, "Okay, I can get behind this guy. I like this because
Yeah, you're not wrong.
you fracture a bone, you fracture a relationship. There's no positive connotation with the word frack. And so you really have to, turn it into a
That's a
bad
good
is
point.
good type of a thing. And if you
Yeah.
ain't got Hollywood on your side, you ain't making anything cool. So, well, that's Trump was only cool when he was Hollywood, and that car ran out of gas a long time ago in America, man. So, I mean,
Yeah, yeah. That's
well,
true.
he's still
No,
got some passengers and that sort of thing, but it ain't like it was the first go
not the
around. I
star
can tell you
power. No,
that.
no, no. But you're right. The industry has no concept of marketing itself well. That's for sure.
No, it doesn't. So you've got the oil sands, the tar sands, or the coffee sands, as I am now calling it. The percolator of petroleum out there in the coffee sands of Alberta. Is it Alberta? Is that where they're
Yeah,
at?
it is Alberta. Yes.
A little bit of Edmonton, maybe. Uh, Edmonton's in Alberta, isn't it?
Edmonton is in
I'm showing
Alberta.
my
Yeah.
naivete here. Okay,
Oil sands are about four
I
or five
just,
hours.
dude, like 90% of my Canadian geography is from hockey. So let's just be real here. If it wasn't for the Ottawa Senators and the fact that I wouldn't even know that they were right above me north with Winnipeg and stuff, which Winnipeg means muddy water for those people wondering what Winnipeg means. So, what's with the permafrost then? Is there anything there? Like I mentioned before, is there any minerals there? Is there any
Oh, I'm sure there is.
geothermal potential there? Is there any, UN carbon sequestration money there?
No idea. That's the
It's
uh
just thawing out, huh? It's just
yeah, it's thawing out. Yeah, yeah. And I don't know what pace it's thawing out at, and I don't know what the ramifications are of it. It's I mean, I don't think if there's minerals there, they would be developed regardless of whether it's frozen or not. Like one of Canada's biggest diamond mines is in I think it's just outside the Arctic Circle in outside of Yellowknife, which is in the Northwest Territories. Giant diamond mine there. So there people will find this stuff if it's there. It's
I mean,
probably
have the has the permafrost been pretty explored? I always thought it was difficult to kind of like the Amazon, how a lot of the Amazon has not been explored because we just
yeah,
can't get there. We just
yeah. I
can't.
think that's a fair statement about it's just inaccessible.
Yeah.
There's no roads or and it's only in winter can you get to a lot of places. In summer, it's just a big swamp, and so but they like I don't know these people are surprising sometimes, or companies are surprising where they'll find a new deposit of something. There's a lot of mining activity. That tungsten mine I mentioned is in I think it's in Northwest Territories. And it's like 50, I think it's 50 kilometers from the nearest road or something. It's like way out in the middle of nowhere.
Hmm.
So these explorers, yeah, that's part of their job. I worked with a geologist a long time ago. There's geologists are hard rock and I wouldn't say soft rock, but like petroleum geologists, and then hard rock geologists are the mineral guys. One of the guys I worked with said he had a job where he would just get dropped off by helicopter in the Northwest Territories and he'd be there for weeks. Just you're on your own, have a tent and supplies and whatever else, and you just go exploring, taking chip samples and whatnot. So it's so there people have been poking around for a long time. There's only so much you can do that on surface, like for tundra, because it's just grass and what you can see.
Hmm.
But there,
Anything with like LiDAR and drones and
yeah,
some of that UAS technology?
yeah, that's right, and they understand the underlying geology of. I mean, like the world is fairly well understood geologically speaking, what used to be an ocean, when, how the plates moved. So, so there's a lot of there's a pretty solid understanding, but I think their understanding is more that this area is prospective for copper or something, or
Hmm.
prospective for gold or whatever. But that's a huge geographical area, so that you actually to actually get in there and start trying to drill a hole, which is the size of my fist, and come across a vein of diamonds or gold is not that easy out of thousands of square miles.
Yeah.
So is it underexplored? I'm sure it's underexplored without a doubt. There's a lot more work to be done. And then these things change too, right? Depending on the price of the metal and mineral. Like when gold is $1,000 an ounce, there's not a lot of searching going on for gold. With gold at $4,400 an ounce, there's a lot more money to be found to look for gold, right? So they will find more gold because they're looking for more gold because the price went up. So
Well, I just got a note here from coming across the desk. This is from Bloomberg. Trump's Venezuela oil grab is pushing Chinese refineries to Canada. There's
mm,
your excuse for Trump to come in and take over Canada right there, man. If you guys are going to be enabling China, that
well,
I
if you,
didn't we just sanction and tariff them yesterday?
yeah, yeah. Well, if you want to know something, what makes me nervous is our fearless leader, the guy that replaced Justin Trudeau, who is supposedly smarter, but he's from the same party. His name is Mark Carney. So we've been having trouble coming to trade agreements with the U.S. on over tariffs and over our drug policing and whatnot. Um,
Are you
and
kidding me? His name is Mark Carney.
yeah, he's an
That's a
ex
joke. That's a joke name, right?
Carney. Yep, but Carnival Carney. So
Well, you know what a mark is, right?
a Mark,
A mark is
yeah,
somebody
target.
is somebody that they target.
Yeah,
That is who a carney targets. So, like you and I going there to try to shoot the ducks that don't fall over and shoot a basketball into the hoop that
the
doesn't
Mark.
fit.
Yeah,
We are the mark to
yeah.
the carney. The guy's name is Mark
Well, I didn't know that.
Carney.
Yes.
That is
Did you not?
made up. That is a Hollywood name like Flash Gordon. Come on, man.
You just
Mark
go Google it.
Carney.
You'll see him. He's a he's
It's,
an ex-central banker, and
His name is P.T. Barnum, baby.
P.T.
Anyways, go
Barnum.
ahead. I'm
So
sorry that it just seems like the grifters aren't even hiding anymore. They're just like, hey, people believe it after Fauci. They'll believe anything now. So,
sure, I'll vote for
boy, I
that.
tell you, this is the hottest take we've ever done on a show, Terry. But
Well, you
anyways,
try and
go
get
on
him
with
on the
the
show.
go on with
Yes,
this carnival man here. What's his name?
Carnival Man. So the Carnival Man, he's right now he's heading for China to try and cut a trade deal with China, which is like, are you out of your mind? Like, if you want to poke the bear, like, just you have trouble getting a trade deal with the U.S., so instead you're going to turn your attention to China, and you think that's a good idea?
Well, sure, he's gonna put up three balloons, give him a BB gun, and say, if you can pop these three guns, we got a deal, and then they're gonna fall for it. He's he
Well, I hope you're right.
he's have you listen? I consider myself
So
one
figured
a
out.
decent communicator. I ain't got nothing on a carny. Those are the masters of the
That's right. Yeah,
manipulation and linguistical battle, man. The carnies, who they got their own language. Like Pig Latin came out of carnies.
great. Well, you're making me feel so much better.
Well,
That's our
it's okay. Our
there.
our our president is in the WWE Hall of Fame. So I mean, it's it's a horse apiece, really, when you're looking at it. I mean,
Oh man,
right?
I
You
just want
can't
to
make
drink.
it up. You can't
No, you
make it
can't.
up.
Yeah.
I love bringing that up to people. I'm like, our president is.
I did not know that.
He's in the. Oh yeah, he was. Oh yeah, he was a big fan of WWE
Oh,
early
he
on.
still is. Yeah,
Oh
he's
yeah,
still.
you bet he is. But
Yeah.
he hosted Trump Plaza, hosted WrestleMania 4 and 5, and he saw really quickly how, oh boy, that's where the Apprentice came from. I've said for 25 years now, um, the world's been moving to pro wrestling, and ever since George Bush Sr. So was that 1991? So whatever that is in terms of, might be 30. Geez, 30 some years ago, when George Bush Sr. came out and he said to Bill Clinton, "Let's get it on," about a debate. That was the infusion of professional wrestling into politics. And Donald Trump is the
Yeah, he made it
final, as Jerry Springer
mainstream.
said, the inevitability of America. Jerry Springer, who was a former mayor of Cincinnati, Ohio, and of the Jerry Springer Too Hot for TV banned on TV video series from the 90s. Oh yeah, I love it, man.
I remember that.
It's like the great prophet George Carlin said, "America's a freak show, and you got a front row seat, baby." Just
He's not wrong. Well,
well, otherwise we can go with the Canadian documentary, The Trailer Park Boys, and I could correct you
yeah,
earlier that there's no such thing as a Canadian beaver. They're just beavers. So, I mean, that
we
was
respect no
one of my
borders.
favorite lines in whatever the Patrick Swayze season
Yeah,
of the
yeah.
Trailer Park Boys was
That's one
they
of my
got in
favorite
trouble
shows.
for a beaver habitat, and that was what got him the most jail time. Not the smuggling the drugs. No, disrupting a beaver habitat got you the most jail time out of their scenarios. But anyways, now we've officially fallen off the track.
Yes.
Um,
Well off.
have
So,
you written anything for the BOE report? It's been the holiday season. I didn't even check. So have you got any articles you've written or anything coming up?
yep. I had one earlier this week. What's today? Thursday? Yeah, Monday I wrote something. So, yep. There's
What,
yeah,
what
just
what was it
talking.
about? Give it a preview, man. What's
Well,
the
it was just this past Monday. It was about Venezuela because that's all everybody could talk about,
mm,
and it was just more to try and put it in the context of um well, it's just my opinion, of course, about,
sure?
but I quoted some other people in there that are much smarter than I am about why the significance of this, and I kind of I echoed that earlier on when I said I think this is just Trump's move to he's playing chess against China and Russia and India, and this is another chess move, and that he's just trying to stay in the game and ahead of the game. Same as Greenland.
You don't think Saudi Arabia is involved at all in any way?
I think very diminishing. So I think that's one way that the world has changed. Like 40, 50 years ago, the US needed oil from everywhere to keep its machine going because the US was the economic engine of the world.
Mm-hmm.
And the economic engine takes a lot of fuel. And the US supplies had dwindled. The U.S. production had fallen to 5 million barrels a day, I think, and they were consuming like 20 or 30 or something. So there's a lot of consumption coming in from everywhere in the world, and the Saudis were the biggest. So the Saudis were best friends, like that we're friends forever, right? Saudi, right, right? Because the U.S. needed access to Middle Eastern oil. Now, with the U.S.'s surplus of oil, the U.S. is now an exporter of oil. Nobody saw this coming 25 years ago.
But I,
Uh,
I look at it like where Saudi Arabia is just spending money left and right. They're throwing money all over the planet. They're not putting their people in debt. Now, I don't know how exactly their kingdom works, but from my understanding, they're paying cash. And I
could
think
be,
China's doing the same thing, aren't they? China's paying. They're not
um,
like
China,
Japan is in QE infinity. Like
yeah,
Japan
yeah,
has put their country so far in debt that they're the only one that, the United States has competition for how
yeah,
many generations have you put into debt. But
right.
because of the oil reserves, Saudi Arabia, they'll write a check to Phil Mickelson, come on over and lead our golf thing, and
Right.
yeah,
I
yeah,
just think
and go ahead.
geopolitically, they don't have the same spot on the stage anymore. They're not as consequential. They're still very consequential, but they don't get the same attention that they used to.
No, they're like a consumer.
Yeah, yeah,
They're
yeah.
like a top consumer now, and I
Yeah.
think that I
Even more
honestly
so.
think that makes Trump jealous. I think
Could be.
that makes people jealous. Like they got they're just sand and oil, and look at them. They're just the top consumer on the planet.
Yep, yep.
Yeah, I see it that way. But
They
anyway,
were building that Neom city, I think. Just another story.
yeah, the
And
line.
well,
Yeah, the line.
the line, yeah, yeah.
Yep.
What was that, 100 miles long or some crazy ass thing? It
Yeah,
was,
it's like one of the coolest futuristic movies you'll ever see. That documentary or the little thing,
yeah,
and they've built a little bit of it already.
yeah, yeah. And I've
And
heard that they've
I
scaled it
actually
back a lot.
believe that is the future of cities. I believe that
Yeah, it
is the
could be.
future
Yeah,
of cities.
they're just ahead of their time. Yeah. So,
Well, yeah, I mean when it can basically be a self-sustaining organism and
mhm,
that sort of thing, and I think cities will be better for it too. And
it could
that's the
be.
part that is so crazy is when I saw the line and what they were doing. Oh, Saudi Arabia is really ahead of the curve here. Like,
Mhm,
I
mhm.
mean,
Well, especially considering the terrain, right? Like, there's nothing. It's just desert. There's nothing. You're not going to go build a subdivision there of houses. That's not going to
right,
happen. So
right,
it's
yeah,
so.
yeah,
Mm.
yeah. I don't know if they read the Bible out there or not, but there is a passage or two about building on sand and rock. I'm not sure how that ends, but we'll save that for another day.
Yeah,
At any
you
rate,
your next guest about that.
yeah, I guess my dog has been staring out the window now for 10 minutes about as
I
subtle as a
need to
slap
pee.
in the face. Um, Terry Edom is the guest. The BOE report, his latest column, is up there. If you'd like to go check it out, you can buy his book at Amazon or Barnes and Noble, The End of the Fossil Fuel Insanity. And actually, I've got a book coming out at the end of this month, Terry. I'd like to
Yeah.
talk to you about. Yes, um, and it has to do with the Bible.
Oh,
Yeah, have you ever? And well, it doesn't, but it does. So it's not a preachy spiritual type book, and it's not an environmental book. But I put them together. And have you ever heard the Bible diet, the clean and unclean animals? So there's specific verses that tell you that okay, you can eat a cow or you can eat a grass eating
oh, that's why
mammal
people
with
don't eat pork.
split hooves, but not without. And so pigs are dirty, but cows are okay.
Oh yeah.
Chickens are, okay, but rabbits are not. And um, fish, if they have scales, they're okay, but if they have smooth skin, they're not. And so, I was a raised Catholic, and so I went to a Catholic school, taught Sunday school, so I was spoon fed fear and guilt my whole life, and then also because I've read the Bible twice, a few things have actually stuck with me. So I pontificate this question: what if the Bible wasn't as much as a dietary thing, but as much as an environmental guide? Meaning
Oh,
that leave the pigs alone because that's actually a waste disposal system. And since we took that away from the waste disposal system, we had to go to landfills that create methane. And now we have to make machine. I mean, that's the book. That's the book. Is that did the Bible have it right? And I even go into the fish because the lobsters and the shellfish that we're not supposed to eat, they're the bottom feeders. They're the cleaners. So why do we keep eating the planets? And the predators are the same thing. We're not supposed to eat wolves and eagles because they're the carcass cleaners.
Oh, well,
Yeah. And so it's
could
when
be
I
onto
got
something.
done, I'm in the process of the final edits. It changed my whole view. It changed my whole view that this is incredible. I think the Bible had it right, the
Yeah.
environmental movement that long ago. So
Wow. Well, the role of pigs is going to change in the future if
you like
Jason
that
keeps
though? That's
our
true though. I mean, when you really think about the role of a
possible
pig, if every neighborhood had a little pig
a
pen,
pig.
yeah, just a little pig pen, and just let it just eat everything and poop out the. Yeah, I mean that's what you get, right? I mean, it's just you can't. It's pretty good. And in the old west, that's how they got rid of bodies. It just go down to Woos. Oh, I love that show, Deadwood. Go down to Woos, the Chinese bar, and throw it over to the pigs. Oh boy, it's
No,
something
there was
else.
a, that's not funny in Canada. There was a dude they caught just outside of Vancouver about 20 years ago. There had been some like 40 women go missing in Vancouver,
Yeah,
just go missing over time, prostitutes and stuff. Willie picked and they found he had a pig farm, and
yeah.
that's where they all went. Yeah.
That
So,
that happened about 5 miles from my place here. It's
oh really?
well back 100 years ago, but the legend lives. Yeah, where the some drifter guy, and it was one of the murders of our county. One of the around Halloween, and so it becomes like a
Yeah.
campfire story, if you will, and people still say they can hear the screams coming from the forest where it happened, and that
Mhm.
sort of thing. But yeah, it's anyway. So
Anyways, we're
we'll
fairly
kind
far
of
off topic. Yep.
yeah we'll kind of end on that. But wouldn't that be something if the dietary laws from Leviticus and some of the other chapters were just our really our environmental guide
Wow.
right there. That's
Well, the next time I'm eating bacon, I'm gonna have a real philosophical look on my face.
I'm actually gonna go fry a pound for dinner. So it's just kind of how it goes, man. I'm trying that carnivore diet for a while. Why not? At least for this week. That's my New Year's resolution to only try diets that sound good. We're gonna try one a week. I like the seafood diet. If I see food, I
Yeah.
eat it.
Well, maybe I'll. How
That'll
about I write a cake diet and I'll put it on the web and you will come across it and you'll think, hey, look at this,
right.
Nirvana.
Well,
All
all
right,
righty, man. Well, any
yes,
final
sir.
thoughts here as we wrap her up?
No, no, head off into the cold, dark night and call it a day.